Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kerr from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. At least 10 people have been killed and 60 others injured after a roof of a church collapsed during Sunday Mass in eastern Mexico. The fatal incident took place at Santa Cruz Parish in Ciudad Madero, near the port city of Tampico. The search for survivors is still continuing into Monday. The state security spokesman's office say that the collapse was likely caused by a structural failure. In the wake of the collapse, the Mexican Council of Bishops issued a statement saying that, quote, "We join in prayer at the tragic loss of life and those injured." Pope Francis is appealing to the international community to broker peace talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The Holy Father made his plea after praying the Angelus on Sunday. It comes after 100,000 ethnic Armenians have fled the disputed enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh in recent days. The region is recognised internationally as part of Azerbaijan, but has been controlled by ethnic Armenians for 3 decades. The mass exodus was triggered by a lightning offensive launched by Azerbaijani troops last week. Meanwhile, the Pope also invited people to pray the Holy Rosary for peace in Ukraine and in all regions afflicted by conflict. October is traditionally regarded as the month of the Holy Rosary. The Archbishop of the conflict-hit Indian state of Manipur says that the response from the federal authorities is insufficient to restore law and order to the region. It's estimated that 185 people have been killed in the violence that first erupted in May between the majority Mai-Tai community, who make up more than half of the state's population, and a minority Kuki community. They make up 16% of the population and live mostly in the hills. Hundreds of churches have been torched in the ongoing violence. Archbishop Dominic Lumen of Imphal told the Catholic charity Aid to the Church in Need that unless India's federal government intervenes, the violence in Manipur is likely to go on for months. Archbishop Lumen expressed concern that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has so far not visited Manipur nor made any public comment on the situation. Those participating in the 16th Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops in Rome, which begins on Wednesday, are currently taking part in a retreat. The time away in prayer is taking place at a retreat house in Sacrofano, which is about 18 miles outside Rome. The meditations are being led by Benedictine nun Mother Ignazia Angelini and the former master of the Dominican order, Father Timothy Radcliffe. Those who are taking part in the retreat will also have time for silent personal prayer. The Synod on Synodality is due to begin on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Pope Francis has created 21 new cardinals. The Holy Father did so during a consistory at St. Peter's Square on Saturday. 18 of the new cardinals are below the age of 80 and hence are eligible to take part in a future conclave to elect a new pope. Among the new cardinals is the head of the Vatican's dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, Archbishop Victor Manuel Fernandez, and the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Archbishop Pier Battista Pizziballa. Addressing the new cardinals, Pope Francis said that their geographical diversity would serve the Church like musicians in an orchestra, where sometimes they play solos and sometimes they play as an ensemble. Pro-life groups in the United States are lauding the House of Representatives for making sure that a program to provide AIDS relief overseas is not being used to channel taxpayer dollars to organisations promoting abortion. The ProLife Protections were added on Thursday of last week to the State Department's Foreign Operations and Related Programs Appropriations Act for the next fiscal year. The Act will now go before the US Senate for further scrutiny before being passed to President Joe Biden for approval or otherwise. A federal judge in North Carolina has temporarily blocked 2 portions of a new statewide abortion law from coming into effect. US District Judge Catherine Eagles agreed an injunction against legislation that would require doctors to detect and document the location of a pregnancy within the womb before using abortion drugs. Also injuncted is legislation requiring abortions performed after 12 weeks of pregnancy to take place in a hospital. The rest of the abortion law went into effect this summer. It restricts most abortions in North Carolina after 12 weeks of pregnancy. Judge Eagles' injunctions will remain in force until a lawsuit filed by Planned Parenthood South Atlantic and a doctor who performs abortions is resolved. In Australia, the final report of an independent inquiry on disability has produced 222 recommendations to improve the lives of the nation's 4.4 million disabled people. The Royal Commission into Violence, Abuse, Neglect and Exploitation of People with Disability conducted 32 public hearings involving 837 witnesses and received 7,944 submissions from people with disability. The report was released on Friday of last week. It seeks the establishment of a National Disability Agreement and National Disability Commission. It also recommends the establishment of a Disability Rights Act to enshrine the international human rights of people with disabilities into domestic law. A new poll suggests that Americans are increasingly favouring larger families. The survey conducted by the polling company Gallup found that just 2% of people think that the ideal family does not include any children at all. 3% say a single child is ideal. 44% say having 2 children is the optimal family size, while 29% who say having 3 children is best. 12% opted for 4. And 2% prefer to have 5 or 6 or more children. The figure for 3 children and more is at its highest since 1971. Finally, to Israel, where archaeologists from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem have announced that a 1,500-year-old Christian inscription has been found at a remote site in the Judean desert. The university say that a 4-week excavation in the Harkania fortress has unearthed the inscription on the building stone on the floor of the basement hall of the fortress. It features lines of text in red with a cross on top. The inscription in Greek reads, "Jesus Christ, guard me, for I am poor and needy." It's thought a community of monks founded in the 5th century is likely responsible for the inscription, which is an adaptation of Psalm 86. And that's your latest headlines for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.